Alright, what is up YouTube? It's Josh from Team Delta V coming at you guys with another top 10 video. I had a great response on the last one, over 800 views. It was awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm a little sick right now, so I decided just to make another PowerPoint and do another video um, for today. So I'm just going to get right into the video. So first off, I have at number 10 Gem Knights. So Gem Knights have Brilliant Fusion, which is great. They can abuse the Perform Apple cards, or not Perform Apple, Perform Age cards. They have Prismora, which is literally just destroy any card on the field. So it's very, very easy removal of any card. So it's easy spot removal. And then it's very fast stack and can OTK very easily. I do think this deck, if played, could do something. I don't think a lot of people will be picking this deck up. However, thus I do not think it will do anything in this format, which is kind of unfortunate. But you know what? Nothing you can do about that. Number 9, I have Yosenju's. This deck is consistent. This deck has access to almost every floodgate in the game. Has easy spot removal via Kama 1, as you see here. Just bounce any monster, as well as the ability to play MSTs and stuff like that. As you see, traps. This deck can play any trap. You can play Storming Mirror Forces, you can play D Prisons, you can play Macros, D Fissures. You have access to it all. This deck can also access any rank 4 in the game, pretty much. So yeah, this deck is really good. Has Tenki for searches. It can play Bear. You know, it's just a really good deck. Alright, number 8, I have Ignites. This deck is incredibly fast. This deck does not brick. That should say consistent, not consist. But whatever, it never bricks. It's super strong power plays. It can play any floodgate, and that's pretty true too. It can play End the Band played on. It can play Skill Drain. It can play lose one turn, which doesn't affect it. It can play Tyrant's Throws, which is broken. It's a Vanity's Emptiness that also prevents your opponent from normal summoning effect monsters. So neither player can normal or special summon any effect monsters. This deck has access to any Xyz monster between the levels of 3, or between the ranks of 3 and 6. This deck can OTK so easily. It's so fast. It has access to so much stuff. It's got new support, which is Cavalier and Veteran. Cavalier has 24 original attack, and with Ignition Phoenix, that thing goes up to 2,700 attack and can be brought out at will. And this deck plays Denko Sekka, and that's awesome. Denko Sekka wrecks like Magispector. They're not getting rid of it right away. They have, like, on your turn. They can't stop that normal summon unless they have a warning set, which is ridiculous. So you're probably going to win that first game, and especially game 2. I don't know. It depends. And then depends on who goes first, I guess. And then this deck is just so strong. I also, the same reason I have Gem Knight solo on the list, I have this solo on the list. It's going to be so underrepresented. There might be 1, maybe 2 at a tournament that I don't think it's going to do much this format. Not to mention Cosmos kind of wreck it, because they have a huge problem getting over stuff that's like Dark Destroyer or even Forerunner. That's the big problem with this deck, in my opinion. So yeah. At number 7, I have Heroes, the Darklaw Turbo variant. So as you can see, Darklaw is the main card in the deck. So yeah, pros Darklaw, and it's super consistent. It's got great pendulum matchups because of Darklaw. Dark Bribe is great in this deck because of Darklaw. Granthorn is great in this deck because of Darklaw. So yeah, Darklaw is just so good. And it can access just about any rank 4. So yeah, Darklaw Turbo is a thing. Watch out for it. I do think this will be somewhat relevant. I don't think this will be topping too many tournaments, but I do think this deck has great matchups this format. It does lose to Cosmos pretty badly, because their boss monster is Darklon only has 2,400 attack, but against Pendulums, especially like Magispectors, this deck can just easily beat that deck, just because it can play Forbidden Lance and protect its monster from your spells and traps. Make Darklaw protect it with Lance, okay. How do you get over it? Yeah, so what, it loses 800 and only has 1,600. Most of the archetype for Magispectors can't attack over a 1,600 monster, especially if everything that goes to their extra deck gets banished instead. So yeah, Heroes are very good right now, in my opinion. But again, it's going to be underplayed. It will be somewhat relevant, I feel, but not relevant enough to make a difference on the format. Number 6, I have Clownblade. So this deck will be somewhat relevant, I think, just like Dark Law is underplayed, but definitely relevant. It's very fast paced. It's pretty consistent. It has access to any rank 4 exceed, and it can build just massive advantage ridiculously fast. And it has easy OTKs through Trapeze Magician, which I totally spelled wrong because there should be a Z or an E at the after that Z. So you know what? That's alright though. You can play cards like Gigabyte, which I don't think I've ever seen being even used in most decks, and this deck just abuses it so well. Has King of Feral Imps to search that Gigabyte, as well as any other cards that might be. This deck is just so fast. Number 5, Burning Abyss. Okay, this deck is fast, it's consistent, it has, yeah, Graph went to 1 and Seer went to 2, but that really doesn't make that big a difference. Yeah, sure, it hurts the deck, but this deck has so many monsters in the archetype that do the same thing and just plop from hand, and then you can just normal one and make a Dante. It's not going to make a big difference. Dante was not touched, which is huge, and you can play the no trap variant of this deck and just as easily as before. This thing's 2500 defense will make it very difficult for most decks right now, especially Magus Spectres, to get over. And the fact that every card in this deck floats is ridiculous. The fact that this deck has Fire Lake is incredible against Pendulums because you just blow up their scale. Again, though, Cosmos will destroy this deck really quickly just by putting out Dark Destroyer or Forerunner. Dante can't get over those. Nothing in this deck can really, other than Acid Golem. Acid Golem is very, very subpar. So this deck, that's why I have it at 5. Again, it's going to be very underrepresented. Number 4, I have Blackwings. Okay, you're probably like, whoa, that's way high up on the list. But you know, this deck can abuse Norden to make level 7 synchros such as Black Rose turn after turn. It builds super high pressure boards. It has access to Black Sonic. It's got new support with the Assault Blackwing cards. It's really consistent. It's fast. It's got Beals and Void Ogre, but it does die to Floodgates. As I said in my last video, where this was the number 10, I feel like this is the number 10 deck overall of the format. But all in all, I do think this deck is the number 4 budget deck. I think it deserves that spot. This deck will be underrepresented like most of the other decks so far. I think the top 3 are the only ones that I don't think will be too underrepresented. But yeah, this deck is very strong. Black Sonic ruins just about every deck in the game right now. Number 3, Yang Zings. So yeah, this deck has these beastly boss monsters, which is basically anything in the extra deck. It has high pressure boards, floodgates up the butt, access to almost any synchro. It's got creation, which is great. It's got formula synchron style effects in the main deck. It's got Herald of the Arclight. Everything floats. It's got no bad matchups really, and it's very consistent. It also has Path though, and Path allows you to recycle your resources, and it's a mini pot of avarice, which is really, really powerful. And yeah, this deck. Oh, and it can recycle these 3 boss monsters right here: Chao Feng, Baxia, and Yazi. I am playing this deck myself. And every tournament I've been to so far has had at least 3 other people playing this deck. So I don't think this deck will be underrepresented at all. I think this deck will be very, very relevant this format, and I do think this deck has great matchups, especially with Baxia being able to shuffle a scale as part of a chain. You activate your scale, I use my effect of any of my main deck non-tuners, and just special Baxia. This deck also, due to the fact that it plays so many floaters, can also main deck or side deck cards like Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend very easily, and similar to how Burning Abyss did. Or even a full Monarch engine, which I've been testing out lately, and it's been doing really good. I think I'm X1 in rated out of 10, so 9 and 1 in rated isn't that bad. All in all, I think this deck will be relevant. I think this deck is powerful, and I do really like this deck. Number 2, I have Infernoids. Yes, number 2. This deck is very fast-paced. All its summons are inherent, so you can't chain Vanity's Emptiness to it. It's got access to Galaxy Eye's Full Armor Photon Dragon, access to almost any Exceed monster between levels 1 and or ranks 1 and 10, which is great. It's got Void Seer, which protects everything. I mean, if you put out total level 7s or like a bunch of monsters that, bunch of Infernoid monsters that total up to level 8, 7 or 8 or whatever, and then summon out a Noonshoe and chain Void Seer, you basically just Raigaki'd your opponent's board. And that's just too good. Deviati is a freaking heavy storm for your opponent only. This deck has Decatron, so it can just easily get to Inferno Oninshu and Deviati, which is really, really good. All in all, I do think this deck will be incredibly relevant. I think this is going to be one of the most heavily played non-pendulum decks, next to Yangzing and Cosmos being up there as well. Alright, so number 1, we have the Monarchs. Yes, I've been playing this deck on Dueling Network for so long now. This deck has crazy good boss monsters. It's got super high pressure boards. It has easy OTKs. New support is broken. Like, I don't like to use broken to describe much, other than, Trish, Baxia, and the new Monarch support. That's about all that I can say is broken as cards. Everything in this new deck is crazy good. Idea allows you to normal it, just special out Eidos, tribute both, normal summon Aether. Aether then specials another Aether from deck and triggers Idea to search out any Monarch spell or trap card. This deck can also play cards like Precious Cards from Beyond to draw 2 every time you normal summon using 2 tributes, which is really, really powerful. Been playing a deck that plays 2 precious cards, or build of this with 2 precious cards from Beyond, and just I go off so hard. I can use both those, and then I can do a tribute summon in my opponent's turn in their battle phase using Stormforth to tribute their monster and my Idea. Draw 4, get the Aether to special summon something, use Idea to search out a spell going +7 in their battle phase because I used their monster as a tribute. That's unreal. I just went +7 on my opponent's turn, and then on my turn I can do it all over again. That shouldn't be a thing. All of this stuff is coming. All the new stuff is coming out in the structure deck, and everything that's already existent for the deck is dirt cheap. Not to mention most of the cards you'll need for the deck are coming in the structure deck, such as Aether, Erebus, Idea, Eidos, Mithra. If you want to play the one of Mithra, really all you'll need to buy is Karaz, Caius, the Mega Monarch, the Stalos, the Mega Monarch. I think that's about it for the monster. A vast majority of the cards just come in the structure deck, which is way too good. This deck is so consistent, and it normal summons on my opponent's turn as a disruption play. Normal summon either summon Kuraz, pop 2 my opponent has, or pop 2 I have, so I draw 2, or, either way. It's just so good. I definitely think this deck, when it drops in January, will be not only incredibly relevant, but incredibly, incredibly hard to stop. I think this will be by far one of the best decks ever created, and yeah, this deck is just that good. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to comment, to like the video, and to subscribe, and I will catch you guys all in the next video. This is Josh from Team Delta V, signing